The chandeliers inside the Manhattan Plaza glimmered like frozen stars, scattering their light across the marble floors where Harper Lennox stood in her wedding gown, a soft ivory silk that wrapped perfectly around her small, newly forming baby bump. Guests whispered, cameras flashed, and a dozen staff hurried through the hallways to prepare for the most anticipated billionaire wedding of the year. But Harper's hands were trembling. Not from nerves, from something deeper, darker, something she didn't dare name yet. She lifted her veil slightly to breathe as she stood near a side corridor, trying to calm the waves of nausea rolling through her. She told herself it was the pregnancy, not the uneasy feeling that had been clawing at her chest since dawn. Her iPhone buzzed with messages from bridesmaids telling her she looked radiant, from executives congratulating the perfect union, and from investors praising Grayson Vail, her soon-to-be husband, for choosing a woman who symbolized integrity. Integrity. The word stung more than the pinching straps on her heels. Harper inhaled sharply and stepped closer to the edge of the corridor. She could hear muffled voices behind the VIP lounge door. She recognized Grayson's low, confident tone. She shouldn't listen. She knew she shouldn't, but something in her chest tightened as she froze in place. Then she heard Jenna Marlowe's laugh. Sharp. Intimate. Close. A laugh Harper had never heard around Grayson in public. She leaned slightly toward the door. Relax, Jenna said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. After the wedding, everything's locked. Her name seals the paperwork. You'll have full control. Harper's breath caught. Grayson chuckled, smooth, arrogant. She has no idea, Jen. She thinks this marriage is about love, but once the deal closes, she's useful. That's it. Harper's vision blurred. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. Her fingers curled against the wall as she felt her entire world tilt. Jenna's voice again, colder now. And the baby? A pause. Then Grayson whispered the words that shattered her soul. We'll handle that later. For now, she's just leverage. Harper staggered backward, veil trembling, chest constricting. The wedding march began playing in the distance. Someone called her name. Guests waiting, cameras ready, her future collapsing. And Harper finally understood. This wasn't a wedding. This was a trap. And in one more minute, she was about to explode his empire in a way he never saw coming. Harper steadied herself against the cool marble wall, her breath shaking as the wedding march swelled from the grand ballroom. Each note felt like a countdown to a life she no longer recognized. A future built on lies, manipulation, and a man who had never loved her. Her fingers trembled as she clutched the edge of her gown. She tried to inhale, but her lungs refused to expand. The nausea wasn't from the pregnancy anymore. It was from betrayal so sharp it felt physical. She forced herself to listen again, not because she wanted confirmation, but because she needed to know how deep the deception went. Inside the VIP lounge, Grayson's voice shifted to its usual commanding tone. Her signature ties everything. Without it, the regulators will flag the filings. Once it clears, Vail Dynamics is untouchable. Jenna giggled. The kind of giggle that came from the lips of someone who believed she had won. And when she realizes she's been played? By then, Grayson said, the board will side with me. We'll say she had emotional instability, pregnancy stress, whatever works. She'll fade out quietly. Harper pressed a hand against her stomach, as if shielding the tiny life inside from the poison spilling through the door. Her legs felt weak, but the instinct to protect her child burned like a rising flame. A sudden noise behind her made her jump. A hotel staff member, the young man no older than 20, froze when he saw her pale face. Miss Lennox? Are you okay? He whispered. Harper swallowed hard. You didn't hear anything, right? His eyes darted nervously. I did, a little. If you need help, I can. But before he could finish, heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. Harper grabbed his arm gently. Please don't say a word, not yet. He nodded, frightened but sincere. Harper slipped away from the door, moving down the hall as quietly as she could. She didn't know what she was doing, only that she had to get away before Grayson saw her. She needed space, time, air. As she hurried toward a back stairwell, she heard a different voice behind her. Harper? She froze. Asher Quinn stood at the end of the corridor, dressed in a charcoal tuxedo that contrasted sharply with the concern etched into his features. Of all people to witness her unraveling, it had to be him, the one man Grayson despised, the only investor powerful enough to challenge him. Harper tried to hide her tears, but Asher had always been a reader of people. "You look like you're running," he said softly. Harper shook her head, but emotion betrayed her. Asher stepped closer. "What happened?" he asked. Her voice cracked. "Everything." Asher's jaw tightened. He looked toward the VIP lounge, then back at her. "Tell me the truth," he said. "Did he hurt you?" Harper's lips trembled. "Worse, he used me." Asher inhaled slowly, a dangerous calm settling over him. And in that moment, Harper realized something. Grayson Vale had just made the worst mistake of his life. Harper didn't realize she was crying until a warm tear slid down her cheek and darkened the silk of her gown. She wiped it quickly, almost angrily, as if removing evidence of weakness. The music from the ballroom drifted in again, soft, elegant, mocking. Somewhere out there, hundreds of people waited for her grand entrance. They expected a glowing bride, not a woman whose heart had just been carved open behind a locked door. Asher watched her carefully, not touching her, not crowding her, simply standing there like a steady pillar while her world crumbled. His voice was low, controlled. "Harper, look at me." She did, and for the first time since hearing the betrayal, she felt grounded. "What exactly did you hear?" he asked, her throat tightened. "He said I was leverage, that once the deal closed he'd dispose of me, of us." She placed a protective hand over her stomach. "The baby isn't even safe." Asher's expression darkened with something that wasn't pity. It was fury, cold, precise, and aimed entirely at Grayson Vale. "You need to leave this floor," he said. "You shouldn't be anywhere near him when he comes out." The thought of Grayson walking toward her, smiling like nothing was wrong, sent a spike of panic through her chest. Harper took a shaky breath. "My bouquet, my vows, everything is in the bridal suite." "You don't need any of it anymore," Asher said. "You need yourself, and you need a way out." A wave of dizziness hit her. She reached for the wall again, her fingers brushing the cool marble. Asher stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough that she felt steadier. "You're shaking," he murmured. "I'm pregnant, terrified, and about to call off the biggest wedding of the year." Harper let out a hollow laugh. "I think shaking is reasonable." "Harper," Asher hesitated, choosing his words. "You don't have to do this alone. I'm here." Those 3 words nearly broke her. But before she could respond, her wedding planner burst into the corridor. "There you are," the planner gasped. "Everyone is waiting. Grayson is asking where." Then she stopped. Her eyes darted from Harper's swollen eyes to Asher's presence. Suspicion flared. "Is everything all right?" "No," Harper whispered. The planner blinked, clearly unprepared for honesty. "You're just overwhelmed," she said quickly. "It happens to brides." Deep breath, smile, and "No," Harper repeated, louder this time. "I'm not walking into that ballroom." The planner's face drained of color. "Harper, sweetie, you can't just—" "I said no." For a moment, the hallway went silent. Even the music seemed to pause. Then, like fate choosing a moment to twist the knife, Grayson's laughter echoed from the VIP lounge. Loud, confident, oblivious. Harper stiffened. Asher watched her transform, from fragile bride to something sharper, stronger. She straightened her shoulders, wiped her tears, lifted her chin. If Grayson Vale thought she was leverage, he was about to learn what a woman pushed to the edge could truly do. The grand ballroom doors loomed at the end of the gilded hallway, like the mouth of a lion waiting to swallow her whole. Beyond them, the orchestra had already shifted into the second loop of the wedding march, the guests murmuring in confused anticipation. Harper could practically feel the weight of 100 expectant eyes, each one ready to witness a fairy tale moment that had never truly existed. Her planner tugged nervously at her clipboard. "Harper, sweetheart, let's just walk in, smile for the cameras, and we'll fix whatever this is later." "You don't want a scandal." Harper let out a breathless, humorless laugh. "There already is a scandal. You just don't know it yet." The planner froze, her lips parting in confusion. Before she could reply, the ballroom doors cracked open slightly and a groomsman peeked out. His forced smile instantly faltered when he saw Harper still in the hallway, not moving, not glowing, not the picture-perfect bride they rehearsed. Grayson's asking for an update," he stammered. "He said to tell you the press has already started live streaming." Of course they had. Every wedding publication from New York to Los Angeles was watching. Influencers had flown in. Investors had filled the front rows. It wasn't just a wedding. It was a spectacle built on betrayal. Harper took a step back from the doors. "I'm not going in." The groomsmen blinked, confused. "Is this a joke?" Asher stepped forward, his calm presence radiating through the tension. "No, she's not going in." Recognition flashed across the groomsman's face, not because of Asher's name, but because of what his presence meant. Asher Quinn wasn't just another guest. He was Grayson's rival, his equal, and his threat. "Sir, with all due respect." "You don't need to talk to me," Asher interrupted. His voice was low, but it carried power. "You need to listen to her." Harper could see the panic spreading across the planner's expression. She wasn't worried about Harper's feelings. She was worried about her reputation, the media, the investors, the spectacle collapsing. "Harper," the planner pleaded, "if you back out now, this will follow you forever." "Grayson will." "Grayson will what?" Harper's voice cracked with a mix of fury and heartbreak. "Smear me? Control me? Use me?" The planner fell silent. She wasn't oblivious. She was scared. Harper slowly approached the ballroom doors. For a moment the planner seemed relieved, until Harper reached up and removed her veil entirely, letting it slip from her fingers and fall silently onto the polished floor. A symbolic rejection. A final goodbye. "I'm ending this on my terms," Harper whispered, and with a push, she opened the ballroom doors. Gasps rippled like a shockwave across the room. Cameras flashed instantly, capturing every raw emotion etched across her face. Harper walked forward, not in grace but in truth. A pregnant bride with no groom beside her, only betrayal behind her. And at the altar, Grayson Vale slowly turned around, his confident smile fading as he realized something was very, very wrong. The room fell into an icy, breathless silence as Harper stepped fully into the ballroom. Veil gone, bouquet forgotten, gown trembling with each heartbeat. The orchestra faltered, bows dragging awkwardly across strings before the conductor abruptly lifted his hands, signaling silence. Cameras, phones, live streams all turned toward her like 1,000 unblinking eyes. Grayson stood beneath the floral arch, his tuxedo crisp, his smile sculpted for headlines. But as Harper walked closer, he saw it, the truth written in her expression. His confident mask cracked. "Harper," he murmured, his voice tight. What's wrong?" A murmur spread among the guests. Executives shifted in their seats. Influencers whispered eagerly, sensing viral content. The board of Val Dynamics leaned forward, anticipating not romance but drama. Harper swallowed, the lump in her throat sharp enough to cut. "Don't pretend," she said softly, but the microphone nearby caught every word, projecting her pain through the speakers. Grayson stiffened. "We'll talk privately." "No," Harper replied, louder now. "We'll talk here." Jenna Marlowe, seated conveniently close to the aisle, paled. Her manicured fingers tightened around her Dior clutch as she avoided Harper's gaze. Harper stopped halfway to the altar. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "I heard you," she said. A ripple passed through the room. The investors in the front row exchanged glances. "Heard? What?" Grayson asked, though panic flickered beneath his tone. Harper inhaled, pressing a protective hand over her abdomen. "Heard you say I'm leverage." Her voice cracked. "Heard you say once your deal closes, I'm disposable. Heard you say this baby," she paused as gasps scattered across the room, "that this baby is nothing but an inconvenience you'll handle later." A collective gasp hit like thunder. Jenna closed her eyes. Grayson's expression twisted. "Harper, stop this. You're emotional. You're pregnant?" she snapped. "Yes. Manipulated? Yes. But emotional? No. I'm finally seeing you clearly." Murmurs grew louder, some horrified, some eager. Grayson stepped forward, reaching for her arm. "Let's go outside." Harper jerked away. "Don't touch me." Click. A journalist snapped a photo. Click, click. Dozens more followed. "Are you saying the CEO of Vale Dynamics is exploiting his fiancée for a business deal?" Someone shouted from the press section. "Is there a prenup scandal?" another asked. "Is the baby at risk?" a third called out. Grayson's face drained of color. The situation was spiraling, slipping from his control like sand through his fingers. Harper lifted her chin. "I'm saying Grayson Vale lied to me, used me, and planned to discard me when I no longer served his empire." Gasps, panic, chaos. Exactly what Grayson feared most. The wedding planner fainted. A bridesmaid burst into tears. The board members whispered furiously among themselves. Grayson lunged toward the microphone, desperate to regain control, but Harper stepped in front of him. Calm, resolute. "This wedding is over." A shockwave rolled through the ballroom. "And Grayson?" Harper added, voice cold as glass. "You're about to watch your empire burn from the inside out." The cameras caught every word. The ballroom erupted into chaos the moment Harper stepped away from the microphone. Reporters surged forward, guests whispered behind manicured hands, and Grayson's mask of confidence shattered entirely. But Harper didn't stay to watch the fallout. She turned, lifting the hem of her gown as she walked. No, escaped, down the aisle she was supposed to walk as a bride. Now she walked it as something else entirely. A woman betrayed, a woman exposed, a woman on the edge of a storm she didn't yet know how to survive. As soon as she reached the hallway, her legs finally buckled. She braced herself against the wall, breath shallow and ragged. The weight of what she had just done, the spectacle, the humiliation, the truth, crashed onto her chest like a tidal wave. The planner rushed after her, voice trembling. "Harper, Harper, this is catastrophic. You blindsided everyone. The media." "Please," Harper whispered, barely able to breathe. "Not now." The planner froze, for once speechless. Harper's vision blurred, her throat tightened painfully. A sharp sting of panic raced through her chest and down her spine. She pressed a shaking hand against her stomach, terrified the stress might affect the baby. "Don't do this. Don't break down here. Not now. Not in front of them." But her body didn't care. Tears spilled. Breath fractured. Her gown felt suffocating. Heavy as armor she no longer wanted to wear. A swirl of reporters tried to force their way into the hallway. Security guards blocked them, but flashes of cameras still pierced through gaps, capturing her crumpled posture, her shaking shoulders. "Perfect," she thought bitterly. "They'll make headlines from my broken pieces." A steady voice cut through the haze. "Harper, Asher." He reached her side immediately, not touching her, just offering steady presence. His face was tight with concern, eyes scanning her trembling frame. "You're hyperventilating. Look at me." She tried, but her breath came out in weak gasps. Asher stepped closer. "You're safe. Breathe in and out. You're okay." But she wasn't okay. She was collapsing, emotionally, physically, after holding herself together long enough to detonate Grayson's perfect narrative. A few hotel staff watched from a distance, unsure whether to intervene or keep their distance. One girl whispered, "Poor thing," while another shook her head, muttering, "Billionaire drama always hits ugly." Harper felt her knees give out again. Asher finally reached for her, steadying her just enough to keep her from falling. "I can't," she choked. "Everything's ruined. My career, my reputation, the baby." "Stop." His voice was firm but gentle. "Nothing is ruined. You told the truth. The only thing that died today was a lie." Harper shook her head violently, tears streaming. "Grayson will destroy me for this." Asher's jaw tightened, something dark flashing in his eyes. "Not if I get to him first." Harper blinked up at him, breath-catching. "But how do I even begin to fight someone like him?" Asher held her gaze, steady and certain. "You don't fight him alone." For the first time since the ballroom exploded, Harper felt something other than fear. A glimmer of possibility, a faint spark of war. Harper sat on the velvet bench in a secluded hallway outside the ballroom, head bowed, hands trembling against her gown. She had never felt so humiliated, so exposed, so completely unprotected. The adrenaline that carried her through the confrontation was gone, leaving behind a crushing emptiness. Her baby fluttered faintly, almost as if reminding her she wasn't alone, even when the world felt merciless. Asher knelt in front of her, leveling his gaze with hers. "Harper, look at me." His voice wasn't demanding, it was grounding. She lifted her eyes, tearful and exhausted. "I know this feels like the end," Asher said softly, "but it's not. Grayson's entire world depends on perception, control, fear. You pulled the curtain back. Now he's the one off balance." Harper shook her head weakly. "Not for long. He'll retaliate, he'll spin stories, he'll bury me legally. He's already tried before." Asher inhaled deeply, eyes darkening with a quiet, lethal determination. "Then we don't let him recover." Harper blinked. "We?" Asher hesitated, just a breath. But enough for her to see he was searching for the right way to reveal something he'd kept hidden. "I wasn't just invited to this wedding," he finally said. "I came because I've been investigating Grayson Vale for months. And you, Harper, you're the key he's terrified of." A shiver ran through her. "What are you talking about?" Asher reached inside his suit jacket and pulled out a slim black folder. He didn't open it, just let her see the weight of it. Grayson has been moving company assets off record, Asher said quietly. Shifting technology rights, hiding data breaches, burying internal warnings. Illegal, all of it. And the only thing standing between him and a federal investigation was marrying you. Harper's breath caught. Why me? Because your name is on some of the earliest legal frameworks, Asher said. Your approvals are what kept the SEC off his back. Your signature is the shield he's been hiding behind. Harper felt the world tilt. So he never loved me, she whispered. Not even a little? Asher looked at her with something that wasn't pity, it was anger on her behalf. Grayson doesn't know how to love, he only knows how to use. Harper wiped her tears, the humiliation slowly hardening into something sharper. And what's in that folder? Asher finally opened it just enough for her to see a page. Emails, signatures, timestamps. Proof, he said. Proof of what he's done. Proof he planned to cut you out. Proof Jenna helped cover it up. Proof the board ignored warnings. And proof that if you had married him, you would have been legally tied to every illegal thing he's done. Her heart thudded violently. This could destroy him. Asher nodded once. It will, but only if you want it to. For a long moment, Harper stared at the folder, the power it held, the danger, the possibility. She was tired, broken, pregnant, vulnerable, but powerless? No, not anymore. She lifted her chin. If Grayson wanted leverage, Asher's eyes flickered with respect. Now, Harper whispered, I'm the one who has it. Harper had never seen a hotel suite look so unfamiliar, even though it had been hers for the past 2 days. The bridal suite at the Manhattan Plaza was a cathedral of luxury, crystal lamps, champagne buckets, white roses arranged in perfect spirals. Hours ago, this room had smelled like hope. Now it smelled like wilted flowers and a wedding that died before it ever began. Harper stood before the mirror, her wedding gown wrinkled from panic, her makeup smudged from tears. Her reflection looked like a ghost, haunted, hollow, humiliated. She reached up to remove the diamond earrings Grayson had gifted her. Her fingers hesitated. These were never a gift, she whispered. They were a leash. She dropped them onto the vanity with a clink that echoed like a final severing. Asher stood near the window, keeping a respectful distance. He knew better than to speak while she fought her own reflection. The city skyline glowed behind him, a field of light stretching across Manhattan. He watched her, not with pity, but with a quiet admiration, like a man witnessing someone pull themselves back from the edge. Harper finally turned to him. If I do this, if I go after him, it won't just be messy. It'll be war. Asher nodded. Yes. Grayson will come for me, and he'll come hard. He will. And the board, the press, he'll spin everything. He'll make me look unstable. He'll try. She exhaled shakily. I'm pregnant, Asher. I can't afford a war. Asher stepped closer, not touching her, just allowing his presence to steady the air around them. You're already in one. Grayson made sure of that the moment he decided you were expendable. Harper closed her eyes. I don't want to destroy anyone. Asher tilted his head. Then think of it this way. You're not destroying him. You're stopping him. She swallowed hard. I don't even know where to start. He lifted the folder again, the one filled with evidence sharp enough to cut an empire apart. You start by reading this, understanding it, owning it. She hesitated, staring at the black cover as if it were alive. Then she reached for it. But before her fingers touched the folder, there was a knock at the suite door. Harper and Asher both froze. It wasn't frantic enough to be security, nor polite enough to be staff. It was calculated, controlled. A voice followed, smooth, cold, terrifyingly familiar. Harper. Grayson. Harper's heart plummeted. Asher moved instantly, stepping between her and the door. Grayson continued, voice quieter now, dangerously calm. We need to talk. You owe me that. Harper's breath hitched. I owe you nothing. Open the door, Grayson said, or I'll open it for you. Asher's jaw clenched. If he tries anything? I know, Harper whispered, though fear clawed its way up her spine. Grayson's final words sent a chill through the room. Harper, don't make me your enemy. She looked at Asher, her voice barely a breath. It's too late, he already is. And with that, Harper opened the folder, choosing war. Grayson didn't knock again. He didn't need to. His presence on the other side of the door seeped into the room like poison, thickening the air until Harper felt her pulse pounding in her throat. She clutched the edge of the folder, knuckles white. Asher stepped forward, positioning himself squarely between her and the door. His posture was calm, but there was something lethal simmering beneath the surface. "Stay behind me," he murmured. Harper nodded, though fear and fury were battling inside her chest. The idea that Grayson felt entitled to confront her, after everything he'd said, made her stomach twist. A keycard slid into the lock. Harper's breath froze. He wouldn't. He couldn't. The handle turned. Asher reached the door first, gripping the handle from the inside and stopping it cold. He leaned in, voice low and dangerous. "You don't have permission to enter this room." A beat of silence followed. "Then, Quinn," Grayson said, mocking amusement lacing his tone. Of course, always lurking in the background, a vulture waiting for scraps. Asher didn't flinch. "Walk away, Grayson." A soft laugh. "And let my bride hide behind another man? No, she and I need to speak." Harper stepped forward, ignoring Asher's subtle attempt to hold her back. Her fear was still there, but it was no longer driving her. Rage was. "Stop saying I'm your bride," she snapped. "I walked away. You humiliated me, used me, and you're not coming in." "Harper." Grayson's tone softened into something almost tender, a manipulation she recognized all too well. "You're overwhelmed, emotional. You weren't supposed to hear." "But I did hear it," she shot back. "Every word." A pause, a shift. Then his tone dropped, icy and sharp. "You don't understand what you've done. That public outburst jeopardized everything. The company, the IPO, years of work. You made a spectacle of yourself." Asher's expression darkened. She exposed the truth. Grayson ignored him. "You think you can walk out, Harper? You think you can embarrass me and not face consequences?" Harper felt a flicker of panic, but it died quickly as she reminded herself of the folder in her hands. The proof, the leverage, the power she never realized she had. "You should leave," she said firmly. "No." His voice hardened. "You're going to open this door? You're going to apologize for the scene you caused, and you're going to finish the ceremony." Harper nearly laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. "You actually think I'll still marry you?" "You will," Grayson said, "because if you don't, I will make sure every investor knows you acted out of jealousy, that you fabricated a lie to sabotage the IPO, that you're unstable, pregnant, and irrational." The words hit her like a slap. Asher stepped closer to the door. "Say another word and I'll have hotel security escort you off this floor." Grayson scoffed, but Harper heard the tremor beneath it. Fear. He hadn't expected her to stand tall. He hadn't expected Asher. And he certainly hadn't expected her to have anything that could hurt him back. Harper lifted the folder so he could see it through the crack in the door. "I'm done being your shield," she said. "And now, I'm the one holding the knife." For the first time, Grayson went silent. He knew exactly what that folder could do, and Harper knew. This was only the beginning. The moment Grayson retreated from the door, the tension inside the suite snapped like an overstretched wire. Harper's knees weakened and she sank onto the edge of the chaise lounge, the folder resting on her lap like a live weapon. Asher closed the door fully, locking it before turning toward her. Not with panic, not with pity, but with strategic clarity. "He's rattled," Asher said. "Good, but we don't have long before he regroups." Harper pressed her palms against her thighs to stop them from trembling. "I've never seen him lose control like that." "That's because he's never been threatened," Asher replied. "Until today, you were his most valuable asset. Now you're his biggest liability." Harper's breath caught at the word liability. She had almost been legally tied to every crime he'd buried. What if he goes public first? What if he spins a story before I can defend myself? Asher sat across from her, elbows on his knees. "Then we neutralize him before he gets the chance." "How?" Harper whispered. He reached into the folder, sliding out a document covered in tiny, dense text. "This," he said, tapping the header, "is a transfer schedule he forged. It moves intellectual property rights from your original agreement into a shell company he controls. Illegal and traceable." Harper's stomach twisted. "My signature? He forged my signature?" Asher nodded grimly. Too confidently. "He didn't think you'd ever see this." Harper felt the room tilt. "If the SEC sees that?" "They'll open an immediate inquiry," Asher finished, "which freezes the IPO. And if the IPO freezes," Harper whispered, "everything he's built collapses." "Exactly." A quiet knock interrupted them. Softer, faster, uncertain, not Grayson. Asher rose cautiously and opened the door just a crack. A young man in a catering uniform stood there, eyes wide. Harper recognized him instantly, the staffer who had overheard the VIP lounge conversation. "Hi," he whispered. I don't want to get involved, but what I heard earlier, it wasn't right, and I thought you should have this." He slipped a small device into Asher's hand, a hotel-issued body cam used for training staff placement. The red light blinked faintly. Harper's breath hitched. "You recorded it?" The young man swallowed hard. "Not on purpose, but the system was already running when I walked in. It caught everything, his voice, Jenna's voice, all of it." He looked at Harper with something like guilt. "I know what happens when powerful men get away with things, and I couldn't just stand there." Harper's eyes burned with gratitude and disbelief. "Thank you." The staffer nodded quickly. "Please use it, for yourself, for the baby." He disappeared down the hall. Asher closed the door and turned back toward Harper, his expression shifting from concern to something sharper. Victory. "That recording," he said, "paired with the forged documents, it's enough to crush him." A tremor of hope ran through Harper's chest. "It's really possible?" Asher stepped closer, voice low and sure. "Harper, with what we have right now, we can take down his entire empire." She exhaled shakily. Not fear, not despair, something new, resolve. She rose to her feet, spine straight, chin lifted. "Then let's start," she said, "before he strikes back." Asher smiled faintly. The kind of smile a man gives when he realizes he is no longer fighting for someone but with them. Then the war begins tonight. The bridal suite no longer felt like a sanctuary of white roses and luxury. It had transformed into a war room. Harper stood at the vanity, wiping away the last traces of ruined makeup. She changed out of her wedding gown and into a simple slate gray dress that one of the attendants had retrieved for her. Comfortable, clean, and, most importantly, hers. She tied her hair back, staring into the mirror at a woman she barely recognized. Not a bride, not a victim, a strategist. Asher sat at the small glass table near the window, laptop open, documents spread out in neat precision. The recording device lay next to his Mont Blanc pen, blinking softly like a pulse. The city lights outside glimmered across the Hudson, casting long reflections against the suite's walls. "Harper," Asher said gently, "come sit. We need to walk through everything before dawn." Dawn. Harper exhaled slowly. She knew Grayson wouldn't sleep tonight. He'd be mobilizing his legal team, prepping a statement, calling in favors, bribing board members, every tactic he'd perfected over the years, and he would do it all under the assumption that she was weak. Good. Let him underestimate her one last time. She sat beside Asher. "Show me where we start." Asher clicked open a file. "First, we categorize everything into 3 buckets. The forged documents, the IP transfer data, and the recording from the lounge. Each of these can sink him individually. Together." He gave a low whistle. "He's cooked." Harper nodded, though her pulse quickened. "The forged schedule, will the SEC believe it?" "Absolutely. Your real signature is on dozens of historic filings. His forgery doesn't match the pressure points or angle." He paused. "I already sent images to a forensic document analyst. Off the record, they confirm it's fake." Harper felt a rush of shock. "Already? When?" "When you were changing." Asher smiled faintly. "You take 5 minutes, I take opportunities." Her lips twitched, almost a laugh. It felt foreign but welcome. Then Asher clicked play on the recording. Grayson's voice came through the tiny speaker like a knife. "She's leverage. We'll handle the baby later. She's just a story investors love." Harper flinched. She thought she was prepared to hear it again. She wasn't. Tears pricked her eyes, but this time they didn't fall. Instead, she straightened her spine. "When can we release this?" she asked. Asher tilted his head. "Not yet. Timing is everything. First, we send the forged documents anonymously to a board member who hates him." He opened a new email draft. "Then we leak the IP discrepancies to a tech journalist who's been itching for a corruption story. The recording comes last, the kill shot." Harper hesitated. "Won't Grayson trace it back to us?" "Yes," Asher said plainly. "But by then, he'll be drowning too fast to retaliate." A knock at the door cut through the air. Harper stiffened. "If it's him." "It's not," Asher assured, standing. He opened the door to reveal Jenna Marlowe. Her makeup streaked, her lipstick smudged, her composure gone. "Let me in," Jenna whispered. "Please." Harper's pulse spiked. "Why are you here?" Jenna's eyes were wild, desperate. "Because," she whispered, "Grayson's turning on me too." Asher stepped forward sharply. What do you want? Jenna swallowed. I want to help you ruin him. Jenna Marlowe stood in the doorway like her entire world had just collapsed. Mascara streaked, hair disheveled, Dior heels scratched from running. She was no longer the polished PR director who strutted through Veil Dynamics as if she owned every glass hallway. She looked fragile, dangerous, cornered. Harper's instinct was to slam the door in her face. You need to leave, Harper said coldly. But Jenna stepped forward, shaking her head, voice cracking. You don't understand. He's going to ruin me, he said. He said I'm next. Asher moved quickly, intercepting her with an outstretched arm. Slow down. What did he do? Jenna swallowed, throat tight. After your announcement in the ballroom, Grayson lost it. He tore into me in front of 2 board members, said I mishandled the media, said I pushed him into an unstable engagement. Then, her voice trembled. Then he threatened to release private texts, make it look like I manipulated the IPO narrative. Harper's jaw clenched. So now you want to help us? Because your reputation's on the line? Jenna's breath hitched. No, I want to help because I know things. Things you'll never be able to prove without me. Asher crossed his arms. You expect us to trust you? No, Jenna whispered. But you don't need to trust me. You just need to want him destroyed as badly as I do. Harper hesitated. This was the woman who laughed behind closed doors about her pregnancy, who mocked her, who helped Grayson plan her downfall. And now she was trembling like a child, mascara dripping onto the carpet. What exactly do you know? Harper asked slowly. Jenna took a shaky breath. Grayson has a private server, off-site, hidden. He uses it for everything he doesn't want legal or compliance to see. Asher stiffened. Location? His penthouse, behind a false wall in his office. The server logs tie him to offshore transfers, fake shell corporations, under-the-table payments. And Jenna's eyes flickered to Harper. Emails about you, about the baby, about the timelines of when he planned to cut you out. Harper felt her stomach drop. This wasn't just business. This was cruelty documented. Asher's voice hardened. Proof? Jenna reached into her clutch with trembling fingers and pulled out a flash drive. I copied the access codes before he changed them. She held the drive out like a peace offering. I want him gone. If you take him down, I walk away clean. Harper stared at the flash drive. The weight of it felt enormous. Too enormous. Why should we believe you won't betray us the second he offers you a better deal? Jenna let out a broken laugh. Because he already did. He threw me to the wolves, and I'm done being his puppet. Silence hung heavy in the suite. Then Asher stepped forward, took the flash drive from her hand, and said, We verify everything. If you're lying, his voice lowered dangerously. You'll regret it. Jenna nodded quickly. I'm not lying, I swear. Harper looked at Jenna, the woman who helped orchestrate her humiliation, and asked the one question she never thought she'd ask. Are you willing to testify? Jenna froze, then whispered, Yes. Harper inhaled slowly. The game had changed, because now they had one of Grayson's own pieces on their board. The suite felt smaller now, charged with a new, volatile energy. Harper stood near the window, staring down at Manhattan's shimmering grid of lights. The city looked calm from above, but she could feel the storm brewing beneath it, a storm she had ignited. She wrapped her arms around herself, not from fear, but to hold in the rising determination that was beginning to replace her shock. Behind her, Asher plugged Jenna's flash drive into his laptop. Encrypted, he muttered. High level, but not impossible. Jenna hovered nervously near the door, twisting her fingers. He thinks he's untouchable. He thinks no one can break his systems. Asher didn't look up. Everyone leaves a crack somewhere. Harper turned from the window. How long will it take to decrypt? An hour, Asher said. Maybe less, depending on how sloppy he was. Jenna let out a short, humorless scoff. Grayson's brilliant, but he's arrogant. He assumes fear keeps people loyal. He never thinks anyone would dare turn on him. Harper crossed her arms. Is that why you stayed with him? Jenna's expression softened, unexpectedly vulnerable. I stayed because I thought he was my ticket to the life I wanted. But the more power he got, the more ruthless he became. I wasn't his partner. I was his spare part. Harper didn't respond. She understood too well what it felt like to be used. A sharp ping echoed from Asher's laptop. He leaned closer. We're in. Harper's breath hitched as she and Jenna rushed to the table. Line after line of incriminating data spilled across the screen. Offshore wire transfers, falsified valuation charts, hidden financial losses, manipulated user data, emails with board members promising illegal incentives, drafts of statements framing Harper as unstable. And then, Harper froze. A series of emails from Grayson, time-stamped over the past 3 months. Every one of them detailing how he planned to shift blame to her, how he'd use her pregnancy to question her judgment, how he'd tighten control once the IPO cleared. Her heart ached. He planned everything, every angle, every escape route. Asher's jaw tightened. Not this one. Jenna swallowed. That last file, open it. Asher clicked. A folder appeared. Harper, final plan. Harper's blood turned cold. Inside were draft statements, pre-written media releases, and a detailed timeline outlining exactly when he would separate from her, days after the IPO, citing emotional instability and concerns about her mental health during pregnancy. Harper's voice cracked. He was going to institutionalize me. Jenna nodded grimly. He hinted at it, said he knew doctors who could sign off on anything. Asher stood abruptly, fury radiating off him. We take this to every agency. SEC, DOJ, IRS, and if needed, the press. Harper shook her head slowly. Not yet. Both turned to her. If we leak everything now, she said, he'll spin it as retaliation for the wedding. We need to time it right, one move at a time, precise, surgical. Asher stared at her, then smiled with something like awe. Harper, you're thinking like a general. She placed a hand over her stomach. I'm thinking like a mother. A knock jolted them all, a low, firm triple tap. Jenna's face drained. That's his lawyer. Fear twisted Harper's spine, but only for a second. She stepped toward the door. Because Grayson Vale was about to learn. You can't control the woman you tried to break. Not anymore. The knock echoed through the suite like a warning shot. 3 slow, deliberate taps, the kind that carried power. Harper felt her pulse spike, but she didn't step back. She had run from Grayson Vale for the last time. Now she stood still, spine straight, chin slightly lifted, every inch of her radiating the defiance he never expected. Asher moved beside her instantly, his hand hovering near her elbow. You don't open that door alone. Jenna pressed herself against the wall, trembling. It's him, or his attorney. He never sends anyone else. Harper inhaled slowly. Then we hear what they want. Asher unlocked the door and opened it halfway, blocking most of the view. In the hall stood Damon Reed, Grayson's personal attorney, a tall, silver-haired man with a face carved from expensive stone. Damon wasn't just any lawyer. He was the one Grayson used to bury people. His icy gaze shifted past Asher and landed directly on Harper. Miss Lennox, Damon said smoothly, you're causing quite a disturbance. Harper didn't flinch. Good. Damon's jaw ticked, but he continued. I'm here to deliver a request from Mr. Vale. He would like to speak with you privately to resolve this unfortunate misunderstanding. Asher let out a low, derisive laugh. Misunderstanding? We both know that's not what this is. Damon ignored him. Miss Lennox, you are currently in possession of material that belongs to Vale Dynamics. If any of that is misused, disseminated, or taken out of context, you could face severe legal consequences. Harper stepped closer, pushing the door wider so she could face him fully. Are you threatening me, Mr. Reed? I am advising you, Damon said. As your former counsel. You were never my counsel, Harper cut in. You were Grayson's mouthpiece. Damon's expression didn't change, but irritation flickered in his eyes. Miss Lennox, the prudent thing to do is stop this now. Walk away from whatever you think you found. Come downstairs. Speak with Mr. Vale. There is still time to salvage this situation. And if I don't? Harper asked. Damon lifted a sleek black folder of his own. Then we proceed formally. A harassment claim, a defamation filing, injunctive relief preventing you from speaking about any internal matters of Vale Dynamics, and if necessary, he paused, letting the moment hang. We will challenge your fitness to make decisions relating to your pregnancy. Asher's rage snapped like a live wire. You son of... Harper touched his arm lightly, stopping him, controlling the moment. She turned back to Damon, voice steady. You want to threaten me with my pregnancy? Use my child as leverage, just like Grayson planned? Damon blinked. We did not say. You didn't need to. She took another step forward. You tell Grayson this. I'm done being scared. I have proof, I have witnesses, and I have nothing left to lose. Damon's composure finally cracked. If you release anything... Harper cut him off, her voice sharp as glass. If anyone releases anything, it won't be me. Damon froze. Asher smirked. Jenna covered her mouth, stunned. Harper continued, the SEC will get the forged documents. The DOJ will get the offshore transfers. And the recording? That goes to the press, not from me, from people who don't owe Grayson a damn thing. Damon's throat bobbed. You wouldn't dare. Harper stepped close enough that he had no choice but to look directly into her eyes. The eyes of a woman no longer afraid. Watch me. She shut the door in his face. And for the first time all night, Harper felt it. Power. Morning sunlight cut through Manhattan like a blade the next day, slicing across the glass towers lining Park Avenue. Harper stood beside Asher on the sidewalk outside Veil Dynamics headquarters, her heart pounding as waves of suited employees streamed toward the revolving doors. She didn't belong here anymore. Not as Grayson's partner, not as his silent shield, but today she wasn't here to belong. She was here to expose. This will be brutal, Asher murmured, offering her a steady look. Once we walk in, there's no going back. Harper pulled her coat tighter around her. I know. But strength wasn't the only thing holding her up. Beneath the fabric, beneath the fear, something new had taken root overnight. Resolve. Fierce and unbreakable. She wasn't here as a broken bride. She was here as the woman Grayson should have feared from the start. Inside, the lobby buzzed with tense energy. Employees huddled near large screens broadcasting early morning financial news. The ticker at the bottom flashed. Veil Dynamics faces internal turmoil. Sources report disruption at CEO's wedding. Whispers swirled as Harper and Asher walked past. Is that her? The fiancé? The one who walked out? No, the one who exposed him. Exposed. The word sent a tremor through her. Not fear, but recognition. Asher pressed the elevator button. He called an emergency board meeting for 8 a.m. He thinks he'll get ahead of this. Harper nodded. Then we make sure he can't. The elevator doors opened to the executive level. Tension thickened the air immediately. A line of assistants stood frozen, eyes darting between Harper and Asher like they were watching a power shift they didn't understand. At the end of the hall, the boardroom doors were closed. Voices rose behind them, sharp, annoyed, frantic. Asher leaned in. Ready? Harper's pulse hammered. Let's end this. He pushed open the doors. A dozen heads whipped toward them. The long mahogany table stretched across the room, lined with Veil Dynamics board members. Majority older, majority wealthy, majority furious. At the far end stood Grayson Veil himself, perfectly groomed but visibly cracking at the seams. His eyes went cold the moment he saw her. So, he said, voice dripping venom, the runaway bride returns. Harper stepped inside, ignoring the insult. I'm not here for you. She placed a stack of printed documents on the table with steady hands. One board member frowned. What is this? Evidence, Harper said evenly. Forged transfer schedules, offshore shell corporations, manipulated user data, and emails showing coordinated plans to frame me and others to protect the IPO. A stunned silence fell. Another board member grabbed the papers, flipping through frantically. His face paled. This can't be real. It's very real, Asher said, stepping beside Harper. And it's only the beginning. Grayson slammed his hand on the table. None of that is admissible. She stole confidential files. I didn't steal anything, Harper replied calmly. Your own PR director gave them to me. She's willing to testify. Gasps erupted around the table. One board member whispered, Jenna? Grayson froze. Harper leaned forward, voice quiet but lethal. You built your empire on fear, manipulation, and forged signatures. But today, the truth walks into this room. A director turned to the others. We need a vote. Grayson's eyes widened. What vote? The oldest board member removed his glasses. Whether Grayson Veil remains CEO. Harper didn't smile. She didn't need to. She'd already won the moment she walked through the door. The boardroom fell into an electric, suffocating silence. Grayson stood frozen at the head of the table, jaw clenched, eyes flickering dangerously between Harper, Asher, and the shocked directors. Every inch of his carefully constructed empire trembled under the weight of the evidence spread before them. This is a coordinated attack, Grayson snarled, voice shaking with restrained rage. She's doing this because I ended the wedding. She's emotional. Enough. The chairwoman snapped, slamming her palm on the table. This isn't about emotions. These are federal crimes. Harper felt her pulse steady as she stepped back, no longer needing to force her voice. The document spoke for her. For the first time in years, she wasn't drowning under Grayson's shadow. She was pulling him down from it. A board member holding the forged signature sheet looked horrified. If the SEC sees this, we're done. The IPO freezes immediately. Another director grabbed the offshore transaction summary. These payments don't even hide themselves properly. It's sloppy, reckless. Asher interjected calmly. Arrogant men always get sloppy when they think no one can touch them. Grayson lunged forward. You, he hissed. You think you can waltz in here and take my company? Asher didn't blink. No, I think Harper can. Every director turned toward her. Harper straightened her coat, fingers brushing her stomach protectively. I don't want your company. I want the truth exposed. I want my name removed from every document you forged. And I want the board to know exactly who they've been protecting. A soft chime cut through the tension. Everyone turned as the boardroom door swung open. Jenna Marlowe stepped inside, heels clicking, hair pulled back, face pale but determined. Every eye in the room locked onto her. You? Grayson spat. You traitor. Jenna swallowed hard but lifted her chin. I have a statement for the board. The chairwoman gestured her forward. Jenna placed a folder beside Harper's evidence. These are internal PR scripts Grayson instructed me to prepare. One's blaming Harper for fabricated misconduct, one's pre-drafted for after the IPO to undermine her credibility, and a crisis plan naming her as the cause of any regulatory delays. A horrified whisper rippled through the room. The chairwoman looked at Grayson. Is this true? Grayson's voice cracked. She's lying. She's trying to save herself. Jenna didn't break. I'll testify. Under oath. That was it. The point of no return. The chairwoman turned to the board. We will now vote on whether Mr. Vale remains CEO of Vale Dynamics. Grayson slammed the table. No, you can't. We can, she said calmly, and we will. One by one, hands lifted. Yes, 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 yes. Grayson watched his life from his grasp in real time, his face twisted with disbelief, fury, and something Harper had never seen in him before. Fear. The chairwoman turned toward him. By majority vote, Grayson Vale is hereby removed as CEO, effective immediately. A gasp echoed across the room. Grayson staggered back as if struck. You can't fire me. This is my empire. Harper met his eyes, voice quiet but sharp enough to slice through marble. No, Grayson. It was built on lies, and lies don't last. Security appeared in the doorway. Grayson's voice cracked as he shouted, Harper, you won't win, you. But for once, he didn't get the last word. As security escorted him out, Harper whispered, I already did. Grayson's shouts still echoed faintly down the hallway as security dragged him out of the boardroom. But inside, a heavier silence settled. The kind that comes after a bomb detonates and everyone is left blinking through the dust. Harper didn't move. Couldn't. Her hands rested on the edge of the table, fingers curled inwards, knuckles white. She had just toppled a man who believed he was untouchable. But the war wasn't over. The chairwoman exhaled, dropping into her leather seat. We need to contain this immediately. Damage control, legal stabilization, emergency filings. Contain, Harper repeated softly. This isn't something you contain. This is something you correct. A few directors shifted uncomfortably. Power liked silence, not truth. Asher stepped closer. She's right. If Vale Dynamics pretends this was a misunderstanding, you'll all go down with him. The only move is transparency. One board member rubbed his temples. If we go public, the stock will tank. Asher replied without mercy. If you don't, the DOJ will tank it for you. Harper watched the panic ripple across their faces. Men and women who had allowed Grayson's ego to overshadow logic for far too long. They weren't evil, just complicit, comfortable, afraid to challenge a tyrant until the tyrant fell. Jenna cleared her throat. I have more, she said softly, placing her second folder on the table. Communications with influencers, bribed journalists, manufactured narratives. He paid for positive coverage more often than you think. Gasps erupted. Harper closed her eyes for a moment, steadying herself. You're all going to face hard questions, but if you cooperate now, rebuild honestly, maybe this company survives. The chairwoman studied Harper, really studied her. How did we not see what you were worth? She whispered. Harper shook her head. You weren't supposed to. Grayson made sure of it. Before anyone could respond, the boardroom doors burst open again. This time, it wasn't Grayson, it was the press. A swarm of cameras, microphones, reporters shouting over one another. Security tried to block them, but they'd already gotten in far enough to capture the chaos. Harper felt her breath falter. She wasn't ready for this. Not yet. Asher moved instinctively, stepping in front of her, shielding her from the flashes. "You're not talking to them," he murmured. "Not like this. Not now." But the reporters weren't here for Harper first. They were here for blood. Is it true the CEO was forcibly removed? Was there fraud involved? Is Harper Lennox the whistleblower? Was there a threat related to her pregnancy? Has the IPO collapsed? Click, flash, click, flash. Harper squeezed her eyes shut. The noise felt like knives. Her heart hammered against her ribs, breath shortening, too fast, too sharp. Panic crawled up her spine, wrapping around her throat. Asher touched her shoulder gently. "Harper? Look at me." But before she could focus, a surge of cameras pushed closer. Security finally forced the reporters back, closing the doors again. But the damage was done. Harper was shaking, breath shallow, vision blurring. "I can't," she whispered. "I can't breathe." Asher immediately guided her to a chair. Hey, look at me. You're safe." Slow breaths. Her hand trembled violently as she pressed it against her stomach. "The baby." Jenna stepped forward quickly, voice surprisingly soft. "Stress won't help. You need air." The chairwoman nodded urgently. "There's a private rooftop terrace. Take her, now." Asher didn't wait. He helped Harper up, his hand steady at her back, leading her toward the terrace doors. But just before stepping outside, Harper turned back to the board, her voice fragile yet unbroken. "This isn't over. We expose everything, or it all burns." No one argued. Harper stepped onto the terrace, breathing in the cold air. Below them, Manhattan pulsed. Above them, the sky opened. And for the first time today, she didn't feel like she was falling. She felt like she was rising. Cold air hit Harper's face the moment she stepped onto the rooftop terrace. Manhattan stretched out beneath her, a maze of glass and steel, buzzing with life, indifferent to her pain. She gripped the railing, trying to slow her breathing. Her chest felt tight, her pulse too fast, the edges of her vision shimmering with panic. She wasn't afraid of Grayson anymore. She was afraid of collapsing when she needed strength the most. Asher stood beside her, but not too close, giving her space while keeping her safe. "In through your nose," he murmured. "Slow, steady." Harper tried. The first breath shuddered. The next one grounded her. By the third, her heartbeat loosened its grip on her throat. Below them, sirens wailed in the distance. Reporters crowded outside the building. Stock tickers blared breaking news alerts. Veil Dynamics was imploding in real time. She wiped her eyes. "Everything is spinning, Asher. I feel like I'm fighting a war with no armor." "You are fighting a war," Asher said, turning toward her. "But you're not alone. And you're not unarmed. You've already taken down the most dangerous part of him, the perception that he couldn't be touched." Harper swallowed hard. "I don't feel strong." "That's because you don't know what strength looks like." His voice softened. "It looks like a woman who walked away from the altar to save her child. It looks like someone who confronted a tyrant with truth instead of fear. You don't need armor, Harper. You are the weapon." Her throat tightened with emotion. She didn't want to cry again. She had cried enough for a lifetime, but something about Asher's voice, quiet but unwavering, made her feel seen in a way she hadn't in years. A soft creak sounded behind them. Jenna stepped out onto the terrace, hesitating at the doorway. Her face was washed clean of makeup now, pale and exhausted. "I'm not here to upset you," she said gently. "I just need to tell you something." Asher stiffened. "Make it quick." Jenna approached slowly. "Grayson's trying to contact journalists already. He's spinning a narrative that you're unstable and vindictive. He's preparing a statement that you had a pregnancy-related breakdown. He'll announce it within the hour." Harper closed her eyes. "Of course he is," Jenna swallowed. "But he's panicking. And when he panics, he makes mistakes." "What mistakes?" Asher asked sharply. Jenna glanced around to make sure they were alone. Then she pulled out her phone. "I recorded his meltdown after the board meeting. Every word." Asher blinked. "You what?" "I'm not protecting him anymore," she whispered. "And what he said, it proves everything." She tapped her screen and held it out. Grayson's voice spilled through the speakers, furious and unhinged. "Harper thinks she can take me down? I'll bury her. I'll bury anyone who sides with her. She's nothing without me. Nothing." Harper's stomach twisted, not with fear, but with clarity. Jenna lowered the phone. "Use it. Please. If he burns, I burn too. I know that, but he deserves this." Asher exhaled sharply. This is the nail in his coffin. Harper looked out at the skyline, the place where her life had nearly ended and where she was now rewriting it. No, she corrected softly, it's the truth finally catching him. She lifted her chin, steadier than she'd been all day. Let's release everything. Jenna's eyes widened. Asher's breath stilled. And when the world sees the real Grayson Vale, Harper said, I won't be the one who's broken. She turned from the railing. I'll be the one who survived him. By noon, the sky over Manhattan had dimmed, clouds rolling in like the city itself sensed what was coming. Harper sat beside Asher in the back seat of a black SUV, fingers pressed against her stomach as the baby nudged softly, a reminder of why she had to finish this. Her fear was still there, buried deep, but it no longer controlled her. What controlled her now was purpose. Asher's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. The journalist from the Ledger is ready. She's seen the documents, the recording, Jenna's files. She wants an exclusive. Harper inhaled. You trust her? I trust her integrity, Asher said, and I trust that she hates corrupt CEOs more than she likes favors. Harper nodded. Then let's do it. Minutes later, they entered a private media room in a midtown office tower. No bright lights, no shouting reporters, just a single journalist, Alexis Reed, sharp-eyed, mid-40s, known for exposing corporate corruption with surgical precision. She rose as Harper approached. Miss Lennox, she said gently, you've had quite a morning. Harper sat, smoothing her coat anxiously. I'm not here to destroy a man for revenge. I'm here to stop a criminal. Alexis nodded slowly. And I believe you. I've reviewed everything. She held up her tablet. This is the biggest scandal I've seen in 10 years. Harper swallowed hard. Do you believe me? I believe the evidence. Alexis replied. And the evidence screams that Grayson Vale wasn't just unethical, he was dangerous. Harper's throat tightened, but she forced herself to continue. He forged my signature. He planned to use my pregnancy to discredit me. He hid illegal transfers. He manipulated investors, and he tried to destroy anyone who questioned him. Alexis clicked her pen. Let's get your statement on record. For the next 20 minutes, Harper spoke, calmly, clearly, truthfully. Not as a scorned fiancé, but as a witness, a survivor, a woman reclaiming her voice. Asher watched from across the room, awe flickering in his eyes. When Harper finished, Alexis lowered her pen. This will go live within the hour. Brace yourself. Harper nodded. I'm ready. But she wasn't ready for what happened next. As the SUV drove away, the Ledger headline hit every major screen in Times Square. Vale Dynamics collapses, CEO accused of fraud, forgery, and targeting pregnant fiancé. Then the recordings played. Grayson's voice roared across Manhattan. She's leverage. I'll bury her. She's nothing without me. Pedestrians stopped, employees froze, news anchors sputtered. Twitter ignited like wildfire. Asher checked his phone and exhaled. It's everywhere. Cable news, tech networks, international wires. This is a rout. Harper stared out the window as the city absorbed the truth she had carried alone for too long. What about Grayson? As if summoned, another alert flashed. A breaking video of Grayson being swarmed outside his penthouse, reporters shouting like wolves. Mr. Vale, did you forge documents? Sir, did you threaten Ms. Lennox's pregnancy? Are you aware the DOJ has opened an inquiry? Grayson shoved cameras away, shouting incoherently, face red, unhinged. And for the first time, Harper felt nothing. No fear, no heartbreak, just release. He's finished, Asher murmured. Harper rested a hand on her stomach. The baby kicked softly as if answering. No, she said quietly. He's finally exposed. The city around her erupted in noise, headlines, outrage, consequences. But inside her, peace. 2 months later, Manhattan had changed. Or maybe it was Harper who had changed. Winter sunlight spilled across the Upper West Side as she stepped out of her modest but warm new apartment, scarf wrapped loosely around her neck, her belly now a soft, visible curve beneath her coat. The world felt quieter, softer, like a city finally exhaling after a storm. Grayson's downfall had been swift and brutal. The DOJ investigation expanded. The SEC froze every account tied to his forged filings. The board publicly distanced itself. And Grayson Vale, the man who once believed he owned everything, now faced federal charges and a reputation so toxic that even his most loyal allies abandoned him overnight. Harper watched it all unfold, not with vengeance, but with closure. Justice had done what it was meant to do. She had moved out of her old penthouse, choosing peace over luxury. She wanted a space where her baby would grow up without shadows clinging to the walls, a space where nightmares wouldn't echo through hallways. As she walked toward the small cafe on the corner, her phone buzzed with another update. Grayson Vale denied bail, court date set. She locked the screen without reading further. It was no longer her burden to carry. Inside the cafe, a familiar voice called her name. Asher stood near the window, hands in his coat pockets, expression warm in a way she hadn't seen before. He crossed the room as she approached. "You look peaceful," he said. Harper smiled softly. "I feel peaceful." "That's new," he teased gently. She laughed, the kind of laugh she hadn't heard from herself in years. Asher helped her into the seat, ever considerate, never intrusive. He slid a small envelope across the table. "What's this?" "A proposal," he said. "Strictly business, I promise." She raised a brow, amused and curious. Opening it, she found legal documents, crisp, clean, generous. "It's an offer," Asher explained. "A partnership at Blackridge Capital. You'd lead a new ethics division. Build something honest, something that can't be corrupted." Her breath caught. "Asher, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he said gently. "Not for me, for yourself. You deserve a future built on your brilliance, not your trauma." Harper's eyes softened. For a moment, neither spoke. Outside, the city hummed in quiet rhythm. Finally, she nodded. "Yes." Asher's smile brightened, not triumphant, but relieved. "Good, I had a backup speech ready in case you said no." She laughed again. "And what was the backup?" "That I care about you," he said softly. "And I'm not going anywhere." Harper's breath stilled. Her heart fluttered, not in fear, but in possibility. "Asher," she whispered. He reached across the table, fingertips brushing hers. "We take it slow," he said, "at your pace, when you're ready." Her hand curled gently into his, and for the first time since everything fell apart, the future didn't scare her. It felt bright, wide, open. When she finally spoke, her voice was full of something the past could never touch. "Let's begin again." Outside, the clouds parted. Inside, a new chapter began. One built not on betrayal, but on hope. And Harper Lennox, the woman who survived a monster, finally stepped into the life she'd always deserved. So the story closes, and if you're still here with me right now, my friend, that means something in Harper's journey touched you in a way you maybe didn't expect. Maybe it reminded you of someone you used to be, or someone you're becoming. At its heart, this story isn't just about betrayal or revenge. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about remembering, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Harper didn't win because she was the loudest. She won because she finally chose herself. She protected her child, her truth, her dignity, and that is a lesson every one of us can carry into our own lives. When someone tries to break you, don't crumble. Rebuild. When someone underestimates you, rise quietly. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but it happens the moment you refuse to be defined by someone else's cruelty. And if this story moved you even a little, do me a small favor. Like the video, share it with someone who needs strength today, and subscribe so we can keep walking through these powerful stories together. You're not alone, and you're stronger than you think.